Friends, we have already studied the effect of diabetes mellitus on periodontal disease in our first video, and today we will be discussing the effect of periodontal disease on the diabetes mellitus. That will justify the two-way interrelationship between these two entities. To understand this relationship, we have to first understand focal infection theory. This is a very unique theory because this was liked and popularized at one point of time in the history. This was overused, overemphasized. Then it was rejected for almost 50 to 60 years. And then there was a rebirth of this theory. Willoughby Dayton Miller in 1890 gave the term focus of infection. He said that oral cavity might act as a focus of infection because of the presence of microbes. William Hunter in 1900 gave this very popular theory known as focal infection theory. This theory stated that whenever there is some localized infection in the body, it will act as a focus of infection, and that can get disseminated in all over the body and can create focal infections in any part of the body. This theory was very much popularized because at that point rheumatoid arthritis and rheumatic heart disease were very common diseases, and they attributed all these diseases to presence of oral infections like tonsillitis or periapical infections in the oral cavity or pyria, what we used to call periodontitis during that time. So what they recommended, most of the authors recommended the extraction of all teeth and tonsillectomies so that the prevention of rheumatoid arthritis and rheumatic heart disease was there. But alas, it was overused, and Cecil and Angevin in 1935 found that rheumatoid arthritis was very common in spite of having all the extractions and tonsillectomies. Rather, few patients saw exacerbation. And in the light of all these findings, Riemann and Heavens in 1940 recommended the rejection of this theory. And this theory was covered under the layers of history. They did not realize at that time that when they were doing extractions and tonsillectomies, the bacteria or microorganisms present in the diseased tissue got disseminated and caused infection. In 1929, there was the invention of penicillin, and before that people were not using this penicillin. So they were not knowing the concept of antibiotics. That bacteremia led to the exacerbation, but rather than knowing the exact cause, they rejected this theory. Then in 1996, in World Workshop, Offenbacher was the one who coined the term periodontal medicine to show the interrelationship between periodontal disease and systemic diseases. His findings were based on his own work, which he did in 1996, and he found the relationship between periodontal disease and preterm low birth weight babies. We will discuss these in the next video. And then he also referred to the findings of Mitila et al., who did in the studies in 1980s and showed the association between cardiovascular diseases and periodontal disease. So these findings led to the rejuvenation of focal infection theory. Coming to the term periodontal medicine, which caused the inversion of the paradigm. That means earlier we used to feel that systemic diseases have effect on periodontal tissues, but now there was inversion of the whole concept that even the periodontal tissues can have the effects on systemic health. So the study of interrelationship of periodontal disease and systemic diseases is periodontal medicine, like our very own oral medicine, where we discuss the interrelationship of oral diseases and systemic diseases. Let's understand the mechanism behind it. Periodontal tissues, like you can see, pocket epithelium, inflammation in the connective tissue, or the periapical area, they all can act as focus of infection or reservoir of infections. Especially here we are talking about periodontal disease. So this inflamed area is a reservoir of microbes and its products and a lot of inflammatory cytokines. They say that if we take a moderate periodontitis case And if we know the surface area of all the pocket epithelia all over the mouth of a healthy adult, then it is almost amounting to the size of the palm of adult. So this much focus of infection, this much size of infection is there in the body when we have chronic generalized periodontitis that is of moderate type. And for more severe type, severe periodontitis, this is even larger. So from here, during the mastication, oral hygiene measures, and during our periodontal therapy, systemic seeding of all these microbes and their products occur. And same happens during infection of tonsils, or if we are doing extractions or tonsillectomies, then all these microorganisms will be disseminated in the blood. And as we know that blood circulates in all over the body, it can go to brain, heart, joints, it can go to the fetus. So that means they can cause the effect there. So all these infections, they are localized infections, and they was earlier thought that they will only cause local destruction, but now it is clear that they can get disseminated and cause systemic infections. So let's understand the mechanism that periodontal disease acts as a reservoir of gram-negative anaerobic microorganisms. Their products like endotoxins, lipopolysaccharides, their enzymes, and inflammatory cytokines which are produced by the host like interleukin-1, 6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha. And I have already made clear that total pocket epithelium area is of size of palm of adult in the case of moderate periodontitis. So these reservoirs of microorganisms, their products and inflammatory cytokines, they enter into the blood and cause metastatic spread all over the body. And what it does is it causes insulin resistance. And when it causes insulin resistance, that means in the body insulin is produced, but it is not able to act on its receptors. And then glucose will not be utilized and hyperglycemia will result. So poor glycemic control will in turn will have more periodontal disease. That I have made it clear in the first video. So there is a vicious cycle which sets in. So effect of periodontal disease on diabetic status. So it made already clear that periodontal disease is a risk factor for poor glycemic control by the virtue of insulin resistance. It causes the resistance of insulin. So what happens is insulin doesn't act on the receptors. Body doesn't get a signal that insulin is produced. So hyperglycemia is already there. Again, the pancreas is forced to release more insulin. And then even insulin is not acting on the receptors. Glucose is not getting utilized. Again, hyperglycemia. And then pancreas gets exhausted. So this prevents the glucose from entering target cells, resulting in the hyperglycemia, which is the main mechanism behind all the complications we have already read. So effect of periodontal therapy on glycemic status. It has been seen that mechanical instrumentation, that means scaling, root planing, like we said, SRP, non-surgical periodontal therapy, as well as surgical periodontal therapy, followed by systemic antibiotics such as doxycycline, is found to be associated with improved glycemic and metabolic control. And how we can say that it has led to the decrease in glycated hemoglobin values in the subjects with poorly controlled diabetes. In the people who had well-controlled diabetic, this relationship was not as clear. Concomitant reduction of microorganisms and their inflammatory mediators and catabolic cascade results in this effect. Let's understand the cause and effect relationship between the two disease entities and association. If we just do cross-sectional studies, that means if we are studying a population only once, we can come to know that in that population severe periodontal disease is present, and in that population diabetes mellitus is present. But then we can only say that they are associated with each other because we don't know the temporal sequence, timeline of those diseases, that which disease led to the other one, because at the point of examination both diseases are present, so we say that they are associated. But when we talked about periodontal disease and diabetes mellitus, we have already established a cause and effect relationship. This cause and effect relationship can only be established by longitudinal studies or the interventional studies. That means if we do periodontal therapy in diabetic patients and we achieve glycemic control, that is very much clear from the Ben-Ricciardi et al. Study. This is a systematic review. We know that systematic reviews and meta-analysis they present the highest level of evidence in research. Tishom A and Yitaye A, Their studies also, especially they have done in 2016, they have shown, this is a systematic review and meta-analysis, both have shown that periodontal therapy had a positive effect on the glycemic control. So cause and effect relationship between periodontal disease and diabetes mellitus has already been established. Coming to conclusion, so two-way interrelationship between diabetes mellitus and periodontal disease is well established now, but it should be viewed in the light of multifactorial nature of both the diseases. Because we cannot say that there is only one cause. They are multifactorial diseases. So we have to eliminate all the factors. So periodontal disease is one of very, very important risk factors for the diabetes mellitus. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe my channel. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me in comment box or you can ask me on my mail ID. Good day.